The night was cold, and the alien city whispered with fear. In the deepest corner of the market, away from the bright lights, a small girl walked alone. Her eyes were strange, glowing faintly like broken stars. People looked at her but quickly, turned away. No one dared to get close. They called her cursed. They said whoever touched her skin turned to dust. Bones crumbled, flesh vanished, nothing left but ash. The stories spread like fire, and soon the whole city avoided her. Parents pulled their children close whenever she passed. Soldiers refused to guard her. Priests refused to bless her. She had no one. The girl lived in silence. Her clothes were torn, her hair was messy, her steps weak like someone carrying a heavy weight. She ate only what was left behind, scraps of food nobody wanted. Every night she hid near broken walls. Every morning she woke to cruel whispers, yet she was not a monster. Her eyes held sadness. Her small hands trembled when she tried to hold something. She wanted warmth. She wanted someone to speak kindly, but all she had was loneliness. The curse was her shadow, and the world had already judged her guilty. One evening, as storms gathered above the city, a visitor arrived. A man, different from the rest. His skin was not like theirs. His eyes not like theirs. He was human. He walked through the market with curiosity. People stared at him but also kept distance. No one had seen a human here for many seasons. The human noticed the girl. She stood alone in the corner, her head lowered, clutching a piece of stale bread. He felt something stir in his chest. Was it pity, or was it something deeper? He asked a local, "Who is she?" The local gasped, "Stay away, stranger. That girl is death itself. If you touch her, you will vanish." But the human did not step back. His eyes remained on her. He saw not a curse but a child, small and fragile. He saw pain where others saw danger, and that feeling inside him grew stronger. The girl noticed him too. Her glowing eyes lifted for a moment. She had never seen his kind before. Something in his gaze made her heart beat faster. It was not fear. It was not hate. It was strange. The crowd watched, waiting for him to leave like everyone else, waiting for him to show fear. But he did not. Instead, he took one step closer. The people gasped. "Fool, you will die!" They cried, but he only whispered, "Why are you alone?" The girl froze. Her lips parted, but no words came. No one had ever asked her that before. No one cared. She shook her head, trying to warn him. "Go away. You do not understand." She said softly. Her voice cracked like glass. The human did not move back. He crouched lower, still a safe distance, but his eyes were calm. He did not look at her like a monster. He looked at her like she was real, like she mattered. The storm above roared. Thunder shook the streets. The wind blew dust across the market. The people hurried away. But the human stayed. His curiosity was stronger than their fear. And in that moment, the cursed girl realized something dangerous. This man was not afraid of her. Her chest tightened. Her curse had taken everyone else. Could it take him too? Or was he different? The first seed of change had been planted. The curse was no longer hers alone to carry. It had just met the human who dared to reach out. The storm ended by morning, but whispers of the strange human had already spread through the city. People talked in hushed tones. He stood near the cursed girl and lived. They said, "Why is he not dust?" Others muttered, "Perhaps he is cursed too." Fear mixed with curiosity, and the story reached every corner of the market. The human did not care about the gossip. His mind was locked on the girl. He walked through the streets asking questions, but everyone gave the same answer. "She is dangerous. Stay away, stranger. If you value your life, do not go near her." But their fear only made him wonder more. Why did she look so sad? Why did her eyes shine with pain instead of evil? And why, when he spoke to her, did she not let him turn to ash like the stories claimed? He could not forget the sight of her standing alone in the corner, clutching bread with shaking hands. She was like a candle fighting against the dark wind. Weak but still alive. That image burned in his heart. The next day, he searched for her again. He found her near the old stone wall where the poorest gathered. Her head was lowered as usual, her shoulders trembling as if carrying a weight too heavy. She noticed him and stiffened. Her voice was a whisper. "Why do you follow me?" The human smiled faintly. "Because I want to know who you are." The girl shook her head quickly. "You should not. Everyone who touches me dies. You must stay away." Her voice carried fear, but beneath it was something else. Something, almost like pleading. He tilted his head. "And yet, I touched your hand yesterday and here I am alive." Her glowing eyes widened. Her lips trembled. "No, that is impossible. You cannot be like the others." She took a step back, clutching the wall for support. The crowd around them began to gather. People hissed and muttered, "He is tempting death. Look at him, fool human." But the human ignored them. His eyes stayed locked on the girl, calm and steady. "I don't believe you are a curse," he said firmly. His voice was quiet, but every word cut through the air. "You are just alone, and they do not understand." For a moment her heart thumped, so hard she thought it might burst. No one had ever spoken to her like that. No one dared, but fear returned sharp and cruel. She turned her face away. "Leave me. I do not want you to die." The human did not leave. Instead, he placed a small bundle on the ground. Fresh food, clean water, things she never had. Then he stepped back, showing no threat. His voice softened. "If you are dangerous, then let me decide for myself, but if you are just hungry and tired, then take this." Her hands trembled. She wanted to refuse, yet her stomach ached. Her lips were dry. Slowly, carefully, she picked up the food, expecting him to vanish into dust as soon as her fingers brushed it. But he did not. He only smiled. The crowd gasped again. Some fled in terror. Some stayed to watch. Their eyes wide with disbelief, the girl ate in silence, tears filling her glowing eyes. She could not understand. Why was he not afraid? Why was he still alive? Why did his kindness feel warmer than the sun? When she finished, she whispered, "You should not return tomorrow. Stay away. I cannot stop what I am." But the human only said, "Then I will come tomorrow, and the day after, until I understand who you are." The girl's breath caught in her throat. For the first time in her life, she felt something strange pressing against the walls of her curse. Not fear, not hate, but hope. And hope was more dangerous than dust. The human kept his word. The next day he returned, and the day after that, always at the same place near the broken stone wall where she sat alone. At first, the cursed girl refused to look at him. She kept her eyes low, hoping he would leave. But he did not. He never forced her to speak, never tried to touch her again. He only sat a little distance away, sometimes leaving food, sometimes just waiting. The silence between them grew heavy, yet it was not empty. It was a silence filled with questions, with something unspoken that neither dared to name. The people of the city whispered louder now. "Why does he keep going to her?" they asked. "He should be dead by now." Some believed he was using dark magic. Others said he was mad. A few thought perhaps the curse was fading, but no one dared to test it themselves. One evening, when the streets were quiet and the sky turned red with sunset, the girl finally spoke. Her voice was soft, almost like the wind. "Why do you come back? Why risk yourself? There is nothing here for you." The human leaned back, his eyes calm. "Because I see something different in you. They see a curse. I see someone who wants to live." Her breath caught. No one had ever said that to her. Her heart twisted. Part of her wanted to believe. Part of her wanted to run. "You are wrong," she whispered. "If you stay too close, you will vanish like the rest." He smiled faintly. "And yet I am still here." Her eyes glowed brighter, tears hiding within them. She turned her face away, afraid he might see. For so long, her curse had kept people away. For so long, her soul had drowned in loneliness. And now here was a man who looked at her without fear. Days passed, and a strange rhythm began. The girl never asked for his company, but she always found herself waiting. Her chest tightened when his footsteps came. She told herself it was only curiosity, but deep inside, it was something else, something warmer. The human began to learn. Her silence, when she was hungry, he left food. When she was tired, he let her rest. When fear gripped her, he stayed quiet, never pushing. His patience was like a gentle fire, burning slow but steady. One night, a group of cruel youths approached. They threw stones at her, shouting, "Monster, cursed thing, leave our city." The girl crouched low, covering her head. The human stepped forward, his eyes sharp, his voice thundered, "Enough." The boys froze, shocked that anyone would defend her. His presence alone made them scatter. The girl looked up at him, stunned. No one had ever stood for her before, not once. That night she spoke again, her voice shaking. "You should not have done that. They will hate you now. They will turn against you." He only shrugged. "Let them hate. I do not care. What matters is you." Her lips parted, but no words came. Her heart pounded. The silence that followed was no longer heavy with fear. It was heavy with something else, something alive. The bond between them grew, stronger not with words but with small moments. A glance, a smile, the way he sat near without fear, the way she slowly allowed herself to hope, and though she tried to bury it, one question began to rise within her. What if he was the one who could break her curse? That thought was dangerous, but it refused to leave her mind. The days passed slowly, and the strange bond between the human and the cursed girl grew stronger. She still warned him to stay away, but she no longer hid when he appeared. She no longer turned her back when he spoke. It was small, fragile progress, but it was progress. The city grew restless. The people whispered louder. Their fear mixed with anger. Why is the human still alive? Why has the curse not taken him? Some demanded that the council remove the girl forever. Others wanted the human punished for challenging their belief. But the human did not listen. His eyes stayed only on her. One stormy night, the sky opened with thunder. The rain poured, hard. The streets emptied, and the cursed girl tried to find shelter in the ruins near the edge of the city. Her thin body shook as cold rain soaked her. She stumbled on the broken stones, her legs too weak to hold her weight. The human was there. He had been searching for her when he saw her fall. He rushed forward without thought. The warnings, the whispers, the fear. None of it mattered at that moment. All he saw was her pain. She tried to push herself up, her hands slipping on the wet ground. Her voice weak. "Stay back, do not touch me," but the human's heart pounded louder than the storm. He reached down, his hand brushing against her skin. Time seemed to freeze. The girl gasped, her glowing eyes wide with terror. She waited for the curse to strike, for his body to crumble, for his flesh to vanish into dust. The rain hit harder. Thunder roared. The world held its breath, but nothing happened. The human's hand held firm, warm against her cold skin. His eyes locked with hers, steady and calm, he whispered, "I told you, you are not a curse." Her chest tightened, her lips trembled. No, this cannot be. You should be gone." She looked at his hand, at the place where every other life had ended, but his touch remained, strong and real. The people who had taken shelter nearby saw it. Their eyes widened with horror and disbelief. One woman screamed, "He should be dead, he should be dust." Others whispered, "Impossible, he breaks the curse." Fear rippled through the city like fire. The girl pulled her hand back suddenly, shaking. "You should not have done that. Do you not understand? You cannot. Her voice cracked. She turned, hiding her face, but the human gently lifted her chin, forcing her to meet his eyes. "I am still here," he said softly, "and I am not afraid." Her tears fell freely now, mixing with the rain. She had lived her entire life in silence, in fear, in loneliness, believing no one would ever touch her without dying. And now, here was this man, breaking every law of her curse, breaking every wall she had built. The storm raged around them, but it no longer mattered. What mattered was that for the first time in her life she felt human warmth. In that moment something inside her cracked. something deep and hidden. A piece of her that had been chained by fear began to stir. Was this the beginning of freedom? Was this the end of her curse? The answer was not clear, but one thing was certain: the world would never look at her the same way again, and neither would she. The storm had passed, but the memory of that night burned like fire inside the cursed girl's heart. She could still feel the warmth of the human's hand against her skin. For the first time in her life, someone had touched her and lived. The thought was terrifying, but also beautiful. The city was restless. Rumors spread faster than the wind. The human defies death. The curse does not touch him. People whispered in fear, others in anger. The council gathered in secret, their voices sharp. If the curse is broken, our power is shaken. If the people believe she is not cursed, they will question everything. But the human did not care about their politics. He only cared about her. He found her hiding in the ruins, her eyes red from tears. She turned away when he approached. "Why do you keep coming back? You should hate me. You should fear me like the others." He sat down beside her, close enough to show he was not afraid, but not too close to frighten her. His voice steady. "Because I do not believe you are what they say. Tell me, what is the truth of your curse?" Her chest rose and fell. She had never spoken of it before, never dared, but his eyes, so calm, so steady, made her want to speak. Her voice trembled. "I was born under a dying star. On the night of my birth, the priest saw a shadow in the light. They said I carried the death of all who touched me, my mother. She held me once and she was gone. My father too, and after that no one dared to come close." The human's eyes darkened with sorrow. He listened, every word carving itself into his heart. She continued, her voice like breaking glass. "They named me a curse. They kept me alive only because they feared killing me would bring worse. So they cast me out, watched me grow like a ghost. I wanted to die many times, but I could not even touch myself without fear of what I am." Tears rolled down her face. The human reached out again slowly, carefully, and when his fingers brushed her cheek, she gasped, expecting death. But once again, nothing happened. Her glowing eyes widened. "Why? Why are you not like the others?" Her voice broke into panic. "What are you?" The human shook his head. "I am nothing special. I am only human. But maybe that is enough." Her lips trembled. "No. You must have something. You cannot just be immune. It does not make sense." He leaned closer, whispering, "Maybe the curse is not real. Maybe it is only fear. Maybe it never had power over me because I do not believe it." But deep down, the girl knew it was not so simple. She had seen too many turn to dust, too many vanish in her presence. The curse was real, but this man, he was different. For the first time, a thought crossed her mind, dangerous and bright. What if he is the one who was meant to save me? Yet fear clung to her heart. If they know you can touch me, they will kill you. They will not let you prove them wrong. The human's jaw tightened. Then let them try. I will not leave you. Her chest ached, not with fear this time, but with something warmer, stronger, something she did not dare name. She closed her eyes, letting his hand rest against her cheek, and whispered, "For the first time, I do not feel cursed." The silence around them was heavy, but it was not the silence of loneliness anymore. It was the silence of something new, something about to awaken. The whispers of the human's touch spread through the city like wildfire. By morning, no corner of the streets was silent. People argued, some saying the girl's curse was broken, others insisting it was only trickery. The fear that had kept the people united now began to crack, and the council felt their power shake. Inside the council chamber, the elders sat around a long stone table, their faces grim. "The cursed child was our warning to the people. Our control," one said. "But now this outsider threatens that balance." Another slammed his fist. "If the people believe she is free, they will no longer fear. We cannot allow it." So they made their decision. The human was summoned before them. Guards dragged him through the streets. People watched with wide eyes, some with pity, others with cold satisfaction. The cursed girl followed from the shadows, her heart pounding. In the chamber, the head elder leaned forward, his voice sharp. Human, you have touched what no one was meant to touch. Explain yourself. How do you still live? The human stood tall, his eyes steady. Because she is not what you say. She is not a curse, she is only a girl. A wave of gasps filled the hall. The council's eyes narrowed. Blasphemy. One spat. You dare deny centuries of truth. Do you think we invented the bones, the ashes, the deaths? The human did not flinch. His voice grew stronger. I know what I saw. I touched her, and I live. Maybe the curse was never as you claimed. Maybe it was you who wanted the people to fear. The council erupted in anger, their voices like thunder. Enough, you bring chaos with your lies. You weaken our rule. The head elders' eyes burned with rage. The girl will be banished. She will be cast into the wastelands where no one will find her. And you, human, will leave our city or face death. The cursed girl gasped from her hiding place. Her body shook. Banished. The wastelands meant death, storms, and monsters beyond. The city walls. She wanted to run forward, to cry out, but her legs froze. The human's jaw tightened. If you cast her out, then I will go with her. The chamber fell silent for a moment. The council stared in disbelief. You would choose exile. You would throw away your life for a cursed child. He did not hesitate. Yes, the elders snarled. Their pride could not bend. So be it, guards, take them both. Cast them out at first light. The cursed girl's heart pounded as she watched. Fear gripped her. But there was also something else. Something fierce. He had chosen her. He could have left, but he stayed. That night, she found him outside the prison walls where the guards held him. Her glowing eyes shimmered in the darkness. Why? Why would you do this? You could have gone free. He smiled faintly through the bars. Because you should not face this alone, you deserve someone to stand with you. Her hands trembled, pressing against the cold iron. For so long she had been abandoned, hated, left to die. And now, here, was a man who chose her even against the world. Tears rolled down her cheeks, her whisper broke the night. You are a fool, she said, but you are my only light. And so, when the first sun rose, the guards opened the gates. The human and the cursed girl were driven out into the wastelands. The city watched from the walls, some with relief, some with doubt. The desert stretched, wide and merciless before them. The winds howled like ancient beasts. But as they stepped into the unknown side by side, the girl felt something she had never felt before. Not fear, not curse, but the beginning of hope. The gates of the city slammed shut behind them. The cursed girl and the human stood at the edge of the wastelands before a world of sand, storms, and silence. The sky burned red. The ground cracked like broken glass. Nothing grew here. Nothing lived here. It was a land of death. The girl pulled her thin cloak tighter around her. Her glowing eyes looked at the endless desert ahead. You should not have followed me, she whispered, her voice heavy with sorrow. This place kills. Everything, even I do not belong here. But the human only adjusted the small pack on his back. His eyes steady. Then we will survive together. They began walking. The sun beat down mercilessly. The girl's legs grew weak, and soon she stumbled. The human caught her before she could fall, his strong arms lifting her with ease. She gasped, her heart pounding, still not used to his touch. You are not afraid, he smiled faintly. Afraid, yes, but I will not let fear stop me. For hours they walked. Silence surrounded them, broken only by the howling wind. At night, they found shelter inside the ruins of an old stone temple. The girl curled up in the corner, shivering. The human lit a small fire with the little wood he carried. He placed his cloak around her shoulders. She whispered, her voice trembling. Why do you do this? You could have left me. You could be safe inside the city. The human's eyes reflected the fire. Because you are not a curse, you are someone worth saving. Her chest ached at his words. She turned her face away, hiding the tears that slipped down her cheeks. The days blurred together. Hunger gnawed at them, thirst burned their throats. Yet still, He never left her side. When she grew too weak to walk, he carried her across the burning sands. When storms rose, he shielded her with his own body. When fear overtook her, his steady voice reminded her she was not alone. And in the silence of the wastelands, something changed between them. One evening, as the sun fell low and painted the desert gold, the girl sat beside him, her voice soft. "No one has ever done this for me. No one has ever stayed." The human looked at her, his face calm but firm. "Then they were blind. They could not see who you really are." Her glowing eyes met his, and for the first time she did not look away. A warmth spread in her chest. Dangerous but undeniable. It was something she had never dared to feel. Hope. But danger was never far. On the fifth night, they heard howls in the distance. Shadows moved in the dark. Creatures of the wastelands. Hunters with claws like knives and eyes that glowed red. The girl froze, whispering, "They will kill us." The human gripped a broken spear he had found in the ruins, his voice steady. "Then they will have to fight me first." The beasts circled closer, snarling. Their sharp teeth gleamed under the moonlight. The cursed girl trembled, ready to see him fall. But he stood firm, a single human against monsters. His courage lit the night brighter than any flame. And as she watched him fight, her fear began to break. She realized something powerful. His strength was not only in his body, it was in his heart. A heart that refused to abandon her. By dawn, the creatures had scattered, and the two of them were still alive. The girl sat close to him, her hands trembling. She whispered, "You are a fool, but you are my fool." He smiled faintly, and together they looked at the endless desert ahead. The journey was far from over, but for the first time, she did not dread the road before her, because she was no longer cursed and alone. She was cursed and chosen. The wastelands stretched endless, but even in that silence, the cursed girl knew the council would not forget them. The council feared her secret. They feared the human who had touched her and lived. They feared the people might believe the truth. And so they sent hunters. The hunters were no ordinary men. They were trained to survive the wastelands, clad in dark armor, armed with blades coated in venom. They carried nets to trap, chains to bind, and no mercy in their hearts. Their orders were clear. Bring the girl back dead or alive, kill the human if he resists. The girl and the human were resting in the ruins of an old watchtower when the sound of footsteps echoed across the sand. The girl's eyes widened, glowing in fear. "They have come. I told you they would never let us go." The human tightened his grip on the broken spear he carried, his voice steady. "Then we fight." The hunters appeared, shadows against the setting sun. Their leader stepped forward, his voice sharp. "Hand her over, human. You do not belong." "Here, walk away and live." The human's jaw tightened. His answer was simple. "No." The hunters surrounded them. Blades glinted, chains rattled, the cursed girl trembled. "You cannot fight them all, they will kill you." He turned to her, his eyes calm. "Then I will die standing, but I will not let them take you." The words struck her like lightning. Her chest tightened. Tears threatened. For so long no one had fought for her. Now this human stood against death itself for her sake. The battle began. The hunters rushed. Their blades slashed, but the human moved with desperate strength. His spear cracked armor. His fists struck hard. He fought like a man with nothing to lose. Every move was reckless, every breath filled with fire, but he was only one against many. Wounds opened on his arms. Blood ran down his face. Still, he did not fall. Still, he shielded her. The cursed girl's hands shook. She wanted to run, but her legs would not move. Her heart screamed, "Do something." But what could she do? She was the curse. She was the one they all feared. Then in the middle of the chaos, a hunter lunged toward her with a chain. The girl screamed. Instinct took over, and she reached out. With her hand, the man touched her skin, and before her eyes he crumbled into dust. The battlefield froze. The hunters staggered back, horror in their eyes. The curse was real. The curse was alive. But the human did not flinch. He only turned to her, blood on his face, and said, "Use it, do not fear it. They made you believe it was a curse, but it can be your strength." Her chest heaved. Her glowing eyes blazed brighter than ever. For the first time in her life, she did not shrink from her power. She embraced it. Her hands struck again, and another hunter turned to ash. Panic spread through the enemy. Some ran. Others fought harder. But now the balance had shifted. With every touch she gave, their numbers fell, and with every stand he made, their courage broke. At last, the survivors fled into the desert, leaving behind only dust and silence. The girl collapsed to her knees, trembling, staring at her hands. I killed them." The human knelt beside her, his voice gentle despite his wounds. "No, you defended us. You are not a curse. You are power. And I would rather stand with you than with all of them." Her tears spilled freely. She pressed her forehead against his shoulder, for once not afraid of her own touch, and in that moment she realized something terrifying and beautiful. The hunters had failed, but her heart had not. It had chosen him. The night after the battle was heavy with silence. The cursed girl sat beside the dying fire, her glowing eyes staring at her hands. Ash still clung to her fingers. The memory of the hunters crumbling before her burned into her mind. She whispered, "I am a monster." The human, wounded and bleeding, leaned against the stone wall of the ruins, his voice calm but firm. "No, you are alive. You defended yourself. Do not let them twist your gift into shame." Her heart pounded, torn between. "Fear and hope, gift," she repeated, the word strange on her tongue. For so long, she had only known it as curse. The human shifted closer, his face pale from blood loss, but his eyes steady. I saw the fear in their eyes. For the first time, they feared you, not because of lies, but because of truth. And the truth is not your prison. It is your key. She shook her head. "But why you? Why do you live when others turn to dust? Why can you touch me without dying?" The human's silence stretched, his brow furrowed as if searching for an answer. At last he whispered, "I do not know, but maybe the answer is not in me. Maybe it is in you." Her breath caught in the distance. The desert winds howled like ghosts, carrying whispers of forgotten times. The girl thought back to her childhood, the night of her birth under the dying star, the priest's frightened voices, the prophecy of death. They said I was born wrong, that the star marked me for death, that my touch would be the end of all who came close. The human's voice broke the silence. Or maybe they lied. She looked at him, startled. Why would they lie? His gaze was sharp. Because fear is power. If the people believed you were cursed, the council controlled them with terror. But what if you were not a curse? What if you were something greater, something they could not control? The word struck her heart like thunder. Could it be true? Had her entire life been built on lies? The next day, they continued their journey deeper into the wastelands. The girl walked beside the human, her mind racing. They stumbled upon a hidden valley where ruins of an ancient temple stood. Its walls were covered in strange carvings glowing faintly. Like her eyes, she stepped closer, her breath shaking. The carvings told a story. The story of a child born under a dying star. A child not cursed but chosen. A child whose touch held the power of life and death. A guardian, not a monster. Her glowing eyes widened. This is me." The human stood behind her, his voice low. "Chosen, not cursed. They twisted your destiny into chains, because they feared what you could become." Tears slid down her cheeks. Her whole life she had lived in shadows, hated and feared. But here in these ancient walls the truth shone like fire. She was not a mistake. She was a prophecy. She turned to him, trembling. "If I am chosen, then why are you the only one who can touch me?" The human placed his hand gently against hers, their fingers meeting without fear. Maybe because the prophecy was never about death. Maybe it was about finding the one who would not fear your touch, the one who would unlock your power. Her chest tightened. Her heart raced. Could it be true? Could this human be the key her whole life had been waiting for? The wind blew through the temple, carrying the sound of her own heartbeat. For the first time, she did not feel broken. She felt whole, and deep inside she knew. The curse was never her prison. It was her test, and the human was the answer. The ancient temple glowed faintly under the dying sun. The cursed girl stood in the center, her heart racing with the truth. She had uncovered, she was not born to destroy, she was born to protect. And the human beside her was the proof. He was the key that turned her curse into power, but the council had not given up. That night, the ground trembled with marching boots. From the horizon came soldiers, hunters, and priests. Their armor gleamed, their banners dark against the sky. They carried blades, chains, and fire. The council's voice thundered above them. End the girl, end the human, end this lie. The girl's body shook. Fear pressed heavy against her chest. We cannot fight them all, she whispered, her glowing eyes filled with terror. They will kill you. They will kill me. The human placed a hand gently on hers. Then, we make our stand here together. The soldiers surrounded the temple ruins. Their leader raised his sword. Surrender, human. Step aside and we will grant you life. But the human's voice cut sharp and clear. I would rather die than betray her, the cursed girl gasped. Her heart ached at his words, his courage poured into her like fire. For the first time, she did not feel small. She felt strong. The battle began. Arrows darkened the sky. The human shielded her with his body, striking back with his spear. His arms bled, his legs shook, but he stood firm. Every strike he made was for her. Every wound he took was a promise. He would not abandon her. The cursed girl cried out. Her hands glowed brighter than ever. Soldiers who touched her fell to dust. But this time she did not cry at their deaths. She did not see it as curse. She saw it as weapon, as protection. The council priests shouted prayers of fear, trying to weaken her. Monster, abomination, destroyer. They screamed, but she screamed louder. I am not cursed. The earth trembled under her cry. The carvings on the temple walls blazed with light. Her eyes shone like fire. For every soldier that touched her, another turned to ash. For every wound the human suffered, he rose again, refusing to fall. The enemy numbers began to break. Fear spread like disease among them, but the head elder stepped forward, his voice dark. You cannot escape what you are. You will always be death. The cursed girl stood tall, her hand clasped tightly with the human's. Her voice shook the air. No, I am life, and he is proof. Together they stepped forward. The human raised his weapon. The girl's glow blazed like a star, and for the first time the soldiers saw not a monster and a fool, but something greater, an unstoppable bond. The last wave of soldiers rushed, desperate. The human fought at the front, his body broken but unyielding. And every time he faltered, her hand steadied him. Her touch did not turn him to dust, instead it gave him strength. It gave him fire. At last, the battle broke. The soldiers fled. The council leaders fell to their knees. The ruins burned with light, and the cursed girl stood in the middle, alive, her human beside her. But as silence fell, she turned to him, her tears shining. You are hurt. You gave everything. The human's voice was weak, but his eyes still burned. I told you I would not leave you. Not then, not now. She held him close, her curse no longer curse, her touch no longer death. And in that moment, she knew. The prophecy was fulfilled. The last stand was not about destroying enemies. It was about destroying fear, and together, they had won. The battlefield was silent at last. The smoke of burning banners drifted into the night sky, and the ruins of the ancient temple glowed faintly in the moonlight. The cursed girl stood in the center, her glowing eyes fixed on the human who knelt. Weakly beside her, his body was covered in wounds, his breathing rough. Yet his grip on her hand had never let go. Tears spilled down her cheeks. For so long, she had believed her touch was death. For so long, she had believed she was unworthy of love, of kindness, of life itself. Yet here he was, still alive, still holding her hand, proving that everything she had been told was a lie. The council's survivors fled into the desert. their fear louder than their rage. They had no power left. Their chains of lies had been broken. The people who had watched from the city walls now trembled in confusion. "If she can touch him," they whispered, "then perhaps she was never cursed." The girl sank to her knees. Cradling the human's face with trembling hands, she whispered, her voice breaking, "Why do you keep fighting for me? Why did you give everything?" His eyes opened slowly, weak but steady. His lips curved into a faint smile. "Because you were never a monster. You were never dust. You were always meant to be touched, and I wanted to be the one who proved it." Her heart shattered and healed all at once. For the first time, she wrapped her arms around him fully. No fear, no hesitation. Her skin pressed against his, and instead of crumbling into ash, he breathed. His heartbeat thumped strong against her ear. The glow in her eyes grew brighter, spreading across her body. The temple carvings flared with light. The prophecy fulfilled itself. Her power was no longer chained to death. It transformed into something new. The touch that once killed, now healed. The human gasped as warmth surged through him. His wounds closed. His blood stopped flowing. His strength returned. The girl's tears fell onto his chest as she realized, "I am not cursed. I am life." He pulled her closer, his voice stronger now. "Yes, you are life, and you are mine." The city, beyond the wastelands, trembled. Crowds gathered at the gates, watching the light blaze across the desert sky. The story of the cursed girl had ended, and a new story had begun. One of hope, one of freedom, one that no counsel could silence. The girl stood tall with the human beside her, her glow no longer a warning of death but a promise of protection. She turned toward the horizon, whispering, "I am no longer alone." The human took her hand, their fingers weaving together. "And you never will be again." The two of them walked forward, leaving behind dust, fear, and lies. Ahead of them stretched a new world, uncertain and wild, but no longer empty. The people who once mocked her, who once feared her, would one day see the truth with their own eyes. She was not a curse. She was chosen. She was proof that even in the darkest shadow, a single hand reaching out could change everything. As the night sky filled with stars, the cursed girl whispered one last truth, soft but unshakable. He reached out, and I finally became what I was always meant to be. And for the first time, her touch was not the touch of death, but the touch of life.